This is the Magic or Tragic podcast, and thanks for tuning in, listening, and thanks for hanging with the Magic. Because right now, that's literally what Magic fans are doing. We're just hanging on by a thread. I think it's 6 or 7 in a row. We're playing Philadelphia tonight. This podcast probably won't come out until after the Philly game, but it's on the road. Do I expect the Magic to win? As of right now, not really, but I'm hoping they at least show some fight. I think they're trying hard. Like all the players who step on the floor, they're really trying their best. But sometimes you just don't have the horses, you know. And that's basically, as Magic fans, we're being brought back down to reality. We got new management. A lot of things were happening for the Magic in the offseason, so that brought excitement and whatnot, and I understand. And to be honest, I'm still excited because if you look at the long run or the end game, we should be as Magic fans. Nothing was going to happen overnight. And, 3 or 4 months ago, every Magic fan understood that. Nothing was going to happen overnight. But the way the season started, it gave us a lot of expectations, a lot of hope, and we bought in, and rightly so, because even though we've been on this losing streak and things look bleak, I understand that it's not going to happen overnight, and the current management staff we do have has made improvements. I do see a change in our team. I do see players that we're bringing in that's truly making a difference. Right now, you can't say is it going to translate to wins because the season's not over yet. It's still actually very young in the season, but I think we've seen enough from our current management staff and even our head coach Vogel to understand what they're trying to do. And right now, we don't have the horses, in my opinion. So it's going to take time to obtain those assets and the players that, our staff and coaching likes to get to where we want to be. But I think we're in the right direction. I was watching the Boston game. Actually, no, not the Boston game. Who did we lose to before that? I can't remember right now. That's how bad it's been. But I want to keep going before I lose my thought. Before the Boston game, I'm watching the Magic play, and I was wondering who would win in a 5-on-5, right? And anyone who likes to listen, and I think anyone who listens or comments or subscribes, respond to this. Who would win on a 5-on-5? Our starting 5, which is currently Peyton, Ross, Fournier, Gordon, and Vucevic, versus our second unit, which is Augustine. Let's say at the 2, you have Simmons. Let's say at the 3, you have Hazonia. Let's say at the 4, you have Isaac. And let's say at the 5, you have Biyombo. If those 2 units played against each other, who do you guys think would win? And I just asked myself that question, and I kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And I honestly couldn't answer it, not even to myself, right? But that's a problem. That's a problem. Your starting unit, like every team, starts games, finishes half, starts the third quarter, finishes the game. For the most part, like every team. They've got to be your strongest unit, your best unit, your go-to unit. And I think in my last podcast, I talked about how for the longest time, 4, 5, 6 years, since Dwight Howard left, our starters, no matter who has been there, no matter who the coach has been, obviously we haven't been winning games. But this particular group, right, with Peyton, Ross, Fournier, Gordon, and Vucevic, I don't care how good they think they are. They haven't been winning games, and they've been given every opportunity because those are the players, with the exception of Ross, we've been seeing the most minutes, game after game, year after year. Okay. Something's got to give. It's like, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I remember during one game, I think it was the game Peyton came back, maybe the first or second game after he came back, and they interviewed Vucevic at halftime or something after the game, and he was basically saying, how it was good to have our point guard back because that's what everybody's used to and whatnot, and I started thinking, I think we went on to win that game too. But I started thinking, man, like we haven't won games in for years. Nothing is good about our current team, Now I know he's not going to throw a player under the bus, and he may be close to that player, or maybe he's not. I don't know, but he's not going to say anything publicly to make any player look bad or anything. And I'm not even trying to single out EP at this statement. But what I'm trying to say is, like, Vucevic, to me, he's gained the most from EP coming back. And it's a long story. To me, it's just a style of play. It's the easiest out or option for EP because he controls the ball so much. And Vucevic is either at the bottom or the top of the key. He's either in the post or the top. So he's the easiest option for EP. But I'm not trying to get into that. What I'm trying to say is, like, when referring to the past with this team, or what you're used to, or the norm, or what makes you feel comfortable as a player or any player, especially if you've been here for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, no, we've been losing for that time. No. Okay? No. My last podcast was titled, Is It Time to Let Go? Or something like that. And it is. Like, I'm just going to say it because I'm not affiliated with, I love the Magic, but they don't pay me anything. So I get to say what I want to say on YouTube. And I'm going to say something right now that a lot of people may not like because of the time invested, and we just love certain stuff, right? We don't like to hear certain stuff. I'm sorry, but Vucevic and Elfrid Payton, in order for this team to take the next step, they may not have to go, but they may have to take a back seat to whatever plan our management has in the future. Personally, I'd rather them take a back seat. I like Vucevic a lot, okay? But Vucevic just does not have what this team needs on the other end of the floor, which is defense, all right? It's easy for a fantasy offense. It's easy for the fan to see the ball go through the hoop, all right? But there's so much more to basketball than just offense. There's so much more to basketball than offense and defense, and stats and stuff. A lot of basketball is mental. It's your attitude. It's who you are. That's why sometimes I'll bring up stuff that, I'll say I have no clue, but I'm just looking in too deep because I read body language and all this stuff. And that's exactly what I'm doing because, basketball, the spotlight is on you. You don't have a helmet to hide your face or all that stuff. It's only 10 of you on the floor at one time. The camera, everybody can see you. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot on one person. And that's why I love NBA players in the NBA, because I understand that, respect that. So anyone who can succeed at that level, those people are awesome. You know what I'm saying? And even if you don't succeed, even if you make it to that level, like I talk about certain players on our team, and hey, they have obviously accomplished a lot, done a lot in their community, growing up, had to go through a lot to be where they are. And I'm not discounting that. I'm just talking from an Orlando Magic fan. And I most of the players I like for one reason or another, because we've seen them for so long and I see what they can do. But if you want this team to take the next step, certain players either got to go or got to take a back seat. Again, it's not going to happen this year because we just don't have the horses yet. We need to acquire more talent, and I believe our management staff can do that, and I believe Vogel can coach them up. You know, I'm looking at Vogel, and I can't say anything to him yet because I understand what he has to deal with. You know, not even just this year, but the previous year when he was under Henneken. Who knows what kind of culture he was working with on his first year. But I'm sure when he came to Orlando, he had a lot to prove. And to be honest, when I look at the additions we've made, his handprints are over it. If you look at the players coming in, you can see he's trying to go a certain way, but we're still one way. And that's because, we've got a regime that just hasn't been successful here in Orlando, and they're still getting the most minutes, the most playing time, and all that. Briefly, I guess a little bit as to why I singled out Vucevic and Payton. First off, they've been in the starting unit for Vucevic for longer than 4 years, but Payton since he's been here, which is 4 years. Okay, your point guard, which is the leader of the team, and your center. All right, those two have been starters for our 4 years of losing. All right, Vucevic, I like him. He's a nice offensive player for a big man. We watched him grow and develop, but the future of the NBA, to be honest, you can look at the NBA right now. There are tons of big men you can get in the future or now that possess the same offensive skill as Vucevic. The future of the NBA is shooting big men, kind of, okay? But these younger players that are coming up, they can also defend the rim, not afraid to. They also have defensive instincts. They also can move their feet a lot better. All right? They're also not afraid to just get dirty and mix it up. All right? So you can find another big man who can stretch the floor a little bit, but also give you some intangibles that you need at the center position. All right? The center is one of your leaders on the team. The other leader in that starting five, obviously, is your point guard. To me, Payton definitely has certain skills, certain assets, all right? But when Payton's on the floor, to me, it's just Payton ball. It's Payton ball, all right? I tried to think of how to explain this the best and why he doesn't necessarily fit our team. I believe we have a team of shooters, people who like to shoot the ball. Now, against Minnesota, Payton came out with all these dishes and assists, and it looked great and it looked nice. And we were scoring some points. That's great, right? But we were still not playing defense, and we were still turning over the ball, and we still lost. 2 points, 3 points can come in a variety of ways. It can come ugly or pretty. Elfrid Payton knows he's not a shooter. He knows this. All right, he knows he's not a good three-point shooter, mid-range shooter, free throw shooter. He knows this. So because of that, he has to overcompensate in other parts of his game in order to feel like he's making a difference on the floor. All right. If Elfrid Payton is not giving you 10 assists in a game, then exactly what is Elfrid Payton giving you in that game? He's not giving you defense. He can't stay in front of any point guard. All right. He's not giving you shooting or free throws, and he's not protecting the ball. He's a turnover machine. So, that's briefly why I singled out those players. All right. But I'm not going to keep going on because it's going to sound like bashing, and I'm not trying to bash. I just feel like, hey, it's time to move on. So, I'm sure a lot of y'all are like, I know a lot of y'all love EP, a lot of y'all definitely love Vucci. And for the most part, I love Vucci. Y'all already know how I feel about EP. I just don't think he's the right player for this team, this specific team. So, comment on that. I appreciate you letting me vent, because that's all this was. I didn't want to talk about the games because we lost. Like, we've been losing. So, like, I know, like, all you guys listening, like, everybody who likes the Magic knows something's got to change, but exactly what you do. This team definitely does miss Jonathan Isaac. It's funny, we all wanted Dennis Smith. Dennis Smith, how much would he have hurt or helped this team? Who knows? But Jonathan Isaac obviously helped this team a lot. And to my point, you always hear me talk about, like, intangibles. You always hear me say that with basketball. And he brings so many intangibles. I see why we drafted him. You know, I'm not saying that our record would be totally different with him on the floor, but when you watch him, when you watch the Magic play earlier, the depth, they still kind of have depth now, which is why I brought up that earlier question about, you know, what starting lineup or who do you think would win between our first unit and our second unit. He just brings a lot, and I hope he continues to grow. We're going to need him. I love Jonathan Simmons. Aaron Gordon, he's on the uptick. And to be honest, I like Fournier. All right. I do like Augustine, but as far as the long-term future, how much, you don't know. Biyombo, actually, forgot to say him. I think he's a part of the long-term future. There's some players on this team I like, and I think you can start to go forward with. But there's a lot of players that I'm just ready to let go. And as much as it may hurt some fans, I think the fans that maybe don't like this particular podcast, I think you should let go too, man. Like, let's get back to winning. Like, for real. Like, we totally look different. We're the opposite of what we started with. And that happened under Skiles. I don't remember how we started last year, but why is that? Okay, why is that? We don't know because we're not in the locker room or on the practice floor. But what we do know is that there has been a constant for all those years, okay, of the players who's been starting and getting the most minutes. So, watch enough games, you know, break it down enough, listen to what they're saying, put two and two together. It's time. All right, this podcast has been long, almost 15 minutes. That's not cool. So please continue to listen, like or dislike, subscribe. Always go Magic.